name is Daniel. This is my friend Brandon. We're going to make some music for you. You're going to hear some music, some poetry, some speaking. We're going to have a good old time together, so I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for being here.
Quickly, your part's easy, it goes like this. Everybody's got everybody everywhere with glory bound. You think you can handle that? That's all you gotta do. Dan and I will sing the rest of the words. Let's give it a try, Dan. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory bound. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory bound. This time we're going to try it, but I'm going to stop playing when it gets to Everybody's Got. So that means it's just going to be you singing. Ready? Shane, you ready? Okay, here we go. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory. One more time. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got, somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory found. Yeah, everybody everywhere.
I'll tell you, Winston-Salem, we are glad to see all of you. Now, the Vote Common Good Tour has been traveling around since January 2nd. We pulled that big old blue and orange bus up outside of the White House to remind the current occupant that change is coming on Election Day, and we've been trying to come back here to Winston-Salem. Now, there's only one town that Vote Common Good's Faith, Hope, and Love Tour would come to 3 times, and that is Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because we not only know that North Carolina is one of the most important states in this election, Winston-Salem, this area, this part of North Carolina is going to be the place that's going to help change this country. It's going to help change the state, and we're so glad that you're here and glad to be with you. Now, today, you're going to have a chance to hear from some other people that are also running for Congress, but I got to tell you, our truth-telling today, it's connected to the fact that some of us have a broken heart about our president. Now, I don't know about you, but we've all been hearing some things that don't sit so well with our souls. My entire adult life, I've been hearing Republican friends of mine tell me that they have a commitment as a Christian first, then they tell me that then they're a conservative, and then they're a Republican. And then on Election Day, every single time I've watched it happen in 2016, and some of them are doing it in 2020, they line up first as a Republican, second as a Republican, and third as a Republican. And part of what we're doing in traveling this country is we're asking people of faith, hope, and love to make the common good your voting criteria and to stop Donald Trump on Election Day. So we want you not only to join with us and a judge around here and a new person for the state Senate, a new person for Congress, but to change the White House for common decency. Now, I also got to tell you, I'm a pastor, and I've watched a number of my other pastor friends really struggle during these times. And I know it can be hard. And maybe you felt the same way about friends of yours, or you felt the same way about pastors in your lives, that they will tell you that they're trying to be all political without being partisan. But I don't think this is a time where we're worried about being political or partisan. I think this is a time we're worried about being prophetic or being silent and being complicit in what's going on in this country. So we're asking people to do around here is to start naming names, because if you come from the Jesus tradition of prophecy and prophetic voice, you name names. You talk about Pontius Pilate and Caesar and Herod, and in our day, that means you talk about this president, you call him by name. You don't get into vagaries about maybe we just want a more kind country. This is a place where we have to raise our voices and ask our people to wake up and speak up and stand up. So friends, we're really glad you're here because we've all been hearing people tell us that the news is fake, and we're here to remind you that the news is good. We're hearing people tell you to close the borders, to keep the families out, and we're here to say that which God has brought together, no one should ever separate. So friends, this is going to be a good old-fashioned truth-telling, because if we don't tell the truth, then the rocks will cry out. And some of us have been told that we're supposed to be really, really careful and cover up our little light. But today we're going to remind you to let those little lights shine. Now, I'm feeling pretty good today, even though I got a broken heart, because I was over at the boot barn today over in Burlington, North Carolina, and I picked myself up a new pair of boots. So I feel like I got the red, white, and blue at my feet, and I got the faith, hope, and love in my heart, and we're going to get moving on around here. Now, look, we could spend all day reminding you about how Donald Trump is a failed president. We could spend all time talking to you about how he's a bad businessman, he's not up to the job, how he's dangerous when it comes to COVID, how he did nothing and he dithered and he denied. We could spend our time reminding you of what you already know about kids in cages, about soldiers with targets on their backs, about good people on both sides, about corrupt leaders and advisors, about saying to the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. We could remind you of the consorting and the bribing of other governments and the disregard for decency. But friends, we don't have to convince you that Donald Trump is a problem. The man is like a self-cleaning oven, and he does all the work for you. It's obvious that he's not up for the job. So we're not here to spend all of our time telling you about how bad he is. We're here to remind you how good you are. That's why we call this the Vote Common Good Tour, and we want you all to dig down deep. So we're not only here to remind you, we're not only here to encourage you, it's going to become clear, we're here to recruit you. Because we like to call this a bipartisan event. We're asking for Republicans and Democrats and independents and Green Party members and the anarchists. We want everybody to vote this guy out of office on Election Day. So some people accuse us it's not just bipartisan, it's a Biden partisan event, and I'm going to ask you to vote for Joe Biden today. But I also want you to know that as a pastor and as a Christian, I'm not saying all this stuff because I'm being mean. I truly believe that everybody here is a beloved child of God, salt of the world, salt of the earth, light of the world. Every person, including Donald Trump. Sure, the man is the light of the world, but not every light of the world should be the president of the United States, and we need to do all we can to make sure he takes his dim little light and lets it shine somewhere else. Now, I'll also tell you that we're really glad to see people here, because last time we were in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, it rained on us so hard, none of us wanted to even walk out of that bus, and nobody else wanted to walk out of their house, so we weren't able to have a faith, hope, and love rally. So we're really glad you're here today, and we're also glad because sometimes people tell us no. Pastors tell us they get nervous. Pastors tell us that they get worried. Politicians tell us that they're busy. Everyone's concerned about COVID, so there's a lot of reasons to say no. But every once in a while, some people say yes. And you know who said yes to us today? Well, you all did, a bunch of yes men and women sitting around here. We're really glad to all of you. We like having you kind of people around, because yeses are what's going to change this country. Not a maybe, not a I'll think about it, not get back to me later. It's people that say yes and wake up and step forward and get moving. I'll tell you who else who said yes to us, and that's Pastor Scovins right over here. He's the pastor of this big, beautiful church. Why don't you come on up here, grab that mic, and tell these good people, Pastor Scovins, why you were kind enough to allow us to have the privilege of being out here on this beautiful courtyard. And we're really glad for you to welcome us here. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Doug. Well, welcome to Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. And I'm Pastor Nathan Scovins. And like he said, we're not ashamed of the real gospel of Jesus Christ. That is about faith, hope, and love. And if you love one another, if you love God, and you love this country, and you love people, neighborhoods, and community, you will stand up for what is right. So that's why we're here today, and we were more than willing to have this rally. And it's not about the numbers, because we live in a world now where so many people are being reached by the messages and the things that we're doing virtually. So I say welcome. Let's keep doing what we're doing. We've got to get out the vote. We've got souls to the polls on Sunday. And we're looking forward to getting lots of people out. If you haven't voted already, listen, folks, if you're watching us today, get out and vote. Yeah. Wake up, stand up, speak up. Listen, we've protested, we've marched, we've done all of that. Now it's time to participate and make your voice heard. So again, thank you for coming to the campus of Galilee. We're all about making sure that community is alive and well. Our mission is simple: glorifying God, making disciples, building community, and changing lives for Jesus Christ. God bless you. Thank you, Doug. And we're excited to have you. And if you come back a fourth time, we'll come right back. We'll be glad to do it again. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor. Well, Dr. King says no one is free until we are all free, and that's what this song is about. Let the light keep it shining, let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. Let the light in, keep it shining, let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe. Despite brutality, I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. Let the light in, keep it shining, let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see, we'll be free. Yeah, let the light in, keep it shining, let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see, we'll be free. We'll be free, free. We'll be free. Yes, we'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. Oh, we'll be free, free. We'll all be free. Yeah, we'll be free, free. We'll all be free. Yeah. So let the light in, keep it shining, let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see, we'll all be free. Let the light in, let the light in, keep it shining, let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see, we'll all be free. Oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. Thank you so much. And would you give a warm welcome to my good friend Genesis B, everybody.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Genesis B. I just want to say thank you all for hosting us and having us. I was walking around your property, and it's just a beautiful facility. I love the little orange balls everywhere. It's so beautiful. I love the architecture and the design. So my name is Genesis B. I am an activist and an artist from Biloxi, Mississippi. I know you're probably thinking, where's her southern twang? I moved to New York when I was 20 years old for college, and Brooklyn took my twang. So my activism for the last 5 years has revolved around removing the Confederate emblem from the Mississippi state flag, leading a national, leading national efforts to bring awareness and working with grassroots organizations like the Mississippi Poor People's Campaign, Mississippi Rising Coalition, and more. So I'm really proud to announce that as of June 30th, 2020, Mississippi retired that flag. After 120 years, it flew. My ancestors fought against that flag and white supremacy and neo-Confederate ideology. My father fought against it. It was a long battle. I just came in on the tail end. But I say all this to let you all know that change is coming. I know it's hard to see, especially when you're so close to the struggle. It's almost like we take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, but I'm here to bear witness from Mississippi that change is happening. And if it can happen in Mississippi, it can happen all across America, because Mississippi is a microcosm of our nation. Police exoneration and mass incarceration, Black and brown bodies, a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. It's like that White House is painted in the Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty, keeping us separate and divided, gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. Yeah, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. It's the land of unsolved murder mystery. I'm triggered by the trauma in my own family history. Cause my dad was only 5 when the Klan drive-by bust bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high, and these are the truths that they choose to deny. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lie is a prison of their own design. Some have forfeited their humanity in order to deny mine. Because white supremacy is a lie. Some have accepted it, a Confederate curse they inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and their fear of the other has blocked their own blessings from their sisters and brothers. Outraged, fatigue, I'm screaming, I can't breathe. From the top, it trickles down, from the judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, tooth fairy, Santa Claus. The history's whitewashed. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off, don't they, Doug? They call me a nigger, a bitch, or a dyke. Call me whatever you like. I've been through worse in this fight. And the hatred in their words just proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin is a sin, sentenced to build your economy. Pack the prisons, fill the quota, make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignation. Just federal indictments and mock trials, you see. My heart bleeds as that billboard reads, "Make America white again," as my favorite rapper concedes. Kanye. Making me question everything that I believe. And still, I love America, I do. Because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship, and some steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives in the smile of every child, in the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against the bigots you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress. Use your voice and choose a march. Ruth is gone, grab the torch. Read a book, write a rap. Just speak with truth and deal with facts, because freedom and justice are under attack. Alt-right affiliation of Trump's administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazi showing faces. Just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation? I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you. Give it up for Brandon, y'all.
31 years, got a few friends I can trust. I've got a couple more, baby, but we don't talk that much. I've got a woman, thank God, she's the best I've ever seen. Well, she keeps me rolling like an 18-wheel machine. And I'm on a roll. Hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of life. See, I'm an Indiana boy with a heart that won't sit still. Yeah, my cup is running over, but I still ain't got my fill. So won't you pray for me, Mary, that I keep my spirit right? And can you help me, Jesus, when I wanna give up this fight? 'Cause I'm on a roll. See, I've been rolling on. Yeah, I'm on a roll. Hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of a light. Hey, America, see, we've been living by faith and not by sight. Driving through the mountains in the middle of the night. There's this rain coming down, but I think I see our light. Hey, America, hey, America, hey, America.
Hey. Hey, Vanessa. Hey, America. Hey, I'm Vanessa, and I am an artist and a pastor and a wife and a mom. This is a really great campus, and I heard that it was a Bible college. And that kind of cracked me up a little bit because that's something I've seen a little bit on this trip. I've been able to go to some Bible colleges. I was able to go to my little Bible college. I was able to take my son to see the little Bible college where his parents met and where his grandparents met. And I had a lot of fun in that little Bible college. Now, it was one of those places where you couldn't smoke, you couldn't drink, you couldn't dance, you couldn't go to movies, play cards, you couldn't hold hands with your boyfriend. There were lots of things that you couldn't do, but I still had a good time. I still really had a great time there. You know, I met my husband and I met Jesus there, and that was a really sweet place for me. And you got to understand where I came from. You see, my parents sent me to a little private Christian school. I started there in kindergarten, and I graduated from that school, and that was the only education I ever knew. It's the only schooling that I knew. That's what I thought was normal. And I have to tell you that that place, that school, was kind of a dark place. So when I was a little girl, just 6 years old, walking through the hallway on the way to the drinking fountain, and I reached up and I touched that little crinkly edge around the bulletin board because I wanted to see what it was like. My teacher took me by the shoulder, marched me around the corner, and put me in a dark room and shut the door. And as time went on, it didn't get much better. One time I took a spelling test and I spelled every word right, but when I got the paper back, I got a big F on the top of the page because I wrote it on the wrong side of the paper with the holes on the wrong side. And when I got to high school, you would walk in the door and the teachers would look you up and down and they would measure you. You were always being watched to see if you were good enough, if you were following the rules. And if you weren't, they'd make you kneel down and measure your skirt, measure your worth. So you can see why Bible college was maybe a little bit more fun for me. Yeah. Yeah, so I was actually at that little Bible college back in 2016. I was there with my husband, my oldest child, and we were there for our 20th class reunion. And we had spent the day there doing that awkward conversation thing. And we were kind of tired, so we went back and watched the news. Turned on the TV. And the news that night, I'll never forget, was the Access Hollywood tape. You remember the Access Hollywood tape? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Trump bragging about what he could do to him. He didn't have to ask for her permission. He could just move into her space and touch her body and invade her personhood. He didn't have to respect her as a human being. My guess is there's probably people here tonight that know what that feels like, to not have your body respected. Yeah. And I remember thinking, well, good. Because surely all those people that had made all those rules about my body and what I could do, all those things that that were rules for me, they weren't going to let this guy win, right? So that felt like the end of it for me. And you can imagine, I know you know how it felt to wake up on that day after the election and to realize that there was a very bad man who was now in charge of all of our bodies. And I didn't know what I was going to do, see, because I was brought up Republican. That was my team. That was my family. That was my church. That was everything I ever knew. In fact, I was like grown up before I knew you could be a Democrat and a Christian. That probably sounds funny to y'all. I didn't know. That was my team. That was all I knew. So my team betrayed me. My team didn't back me up. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. Well, about a year ago, August 3rd, all my kids were home. I got 4 kids, 2 college kids, 1 in high school, and 1 who's 6. Surprise! So we were going to go back to school shopping. And I had all the kids in the ugly mom van. And we were going to go to Walmart and go back to school shopping. And so I held up my camera to take a picture. Come on, everybody, lean in. Let's do a selfie. Come on. No, Mom, we don't want to. Come on, do it anyway. So I brought the camera down and was about to post it to Instagram, like us moms do. And I saw a headline, breaking news. And there had been another shooting. And this shooting was in El Paso. And as the details began to unfold about that shooting, I began to be more and more troubled in my soul. So one of the things we learned right away was that the shooter was trying to impress Donald Trump by laying out his guns in the shape of Trump's name. I took a picture and posted that online. And then the next thing we heard was that that shooter was so filled with hate for people of color that he would save his bullets, pass over white people in that store, and he would save those bullets for brown people. And that broke me because my 3rd child is adopted, and she is a Latina. She is beautiful and brown and has straight black hair and big chocolate brown eyes, and she sings like an angel. If you're ever lucky enough to hear her sing Landslide, it will change your life. She draws. She's everybody's favorite in the family. She's the glue that holds us together. And the thought that that shooter, not knowing anything about us, would see us if we had been in El Paso instead of Arkansas that day shopping in Walmart, he would have passed over me and the other kids, my husband, and would have directed his gun toward my little girl. I could not make sense of it. I could not. I was so haunted by this that I got on a plane and I flew to El Paso because I needed to see it myself. And so I went there and I saw that long memorial wall that goes on the length of a football field, and there were still people coming to weep there. And I saw that ugly border wall. You know, in New York City, where my son goes to college, they have Lady Liberty, but on that border, we have this ugly, rusty wall. What is that? And then I saw a detention center where Homeland Security is protecting us from women and children, and where little children being separated from their mummies and daddies, kept in dark places. And I remember going back to the room where I was staying that night And I remember wrestling and saying, like, I got to say something, but God, nobody's going to listen to me. Who am I? Nobody's going to listen to me. They won't believe me. They're never going to believe me. And you know what God said to me? He said, Vanessa, you haven't said anything yet. You see, I know how it feels to be a little kid who's trapped in a bad place. I know how that feels because, that school where I went had a long hallway and then a pair of stairs, and there was a little corner there where nobody could see. And we talk about Donald Trump being a monster, but we had a monster in our school. And that monster preyed on little girls as they passed by. He didn't respect their personhood. He didn't care about who they were. He took what he wanted. And the news came out, and those girls tried to tell somebody what was happening to them. And the men who ran that school, those good religious voters, they gave that man a love offering, and they sent him on his way. You see, for many of us, the last 4 years have felt like a walk by the monster's room. Always worrying, what's he going to do now? What's going to happen next? Who's he going to hurt next? Who's he going to grab? Who's he going to make fun of and torture? Who's he going to put down? Who's he going to make things harder for? Who's he going to insult? Who's he going to trap in bad policy? Who's he going to reach out and grab with executive orders that make no sense? And, what tweet is he going to stuff down our throats? You see, I know my story's not unique. I know that everywhere these stories exist, but evil might be everywhere, but there's a special kind of evil when you see something happening and you don't do something. Back then, we needed a pastor, a priest, a protector. And now, in the middle of a pandemic, we need a peacemaker. We need a president. And we have this piece of work. So I am asking, everywhere we go, do not give this man the love offering of your vote. I am a mother. I'm an adoptive mother. I'm a biological mother. I'm a spiritual mother. And I am asking, vote like a mother.
Thank you, Vanessa. Well, I grew up in that white Christian world as well. And for me, the experience was really great. I learned to love my neighbors. I learned to take the words of Jesus seriously. And then I went off to college, small Bible college. And it's there that the pieces of the puzzle started to not fit so well. I started reading the words of Jesus and learning about those in the world that were devoting their lives to justice and peacemaking. And that's why I was so confused in 2016 when 81% of white evangelicals voted for a man that looked nothing like the Jesus that I came to learn about. Things like the Beatitudes, blessed are the poor and the meek. Blessed are the peacemakers. Things like Matthew 25, what you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. The fruit of the Spirit. I was told that things like peace and patience and kindness and goodness were things that mattered. And it looked to me like so many of the larger-than-life voices that informed my faith completely turned their back on those values and those words of Jesus to vote for this man for the promise of power. And so I wrote this song as a lament, as a rebuke, and as a call to my brothers and sisters in the church to come back home to the way of Jesus. It's called Hymn for the 81%. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning and evening service, melting tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred, feed the hungry and clothe the naked. I learned from you the highest law is love. And I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. I assumed you'd do the same, so imagine my dismay when I watched you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the lost, well, I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. Oh, they started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies. And I looked to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence, or worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. See, your fear had turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponized religion, and you wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your walls. And you said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. Said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome, justice roll down. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home. Oh, you're better than this. Oh, you taught me better than this. Come home, come home. Softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling. Calling, oh sinners, come home. And you said to love the lost, I'm trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth, that's why I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? justice rolled out. Thank you so much. I'm Daniel Dietrich.
So one of the things we do at Vote Common Good is we like to recruit people and ask them to come along. Dan wrote that song back in January. We heard it on the bus, reached out to him and said, hey, why don't you come with us? And now he lives on the bus. So you got to be careful when you come to one of these events. That kind of stuff might happen to you. Now, we're out here to talk to voters. We're asking voters, would you please make the common good your voting criteria? Show up on election day. We like to say vote early and vote often. Just don't do it in the same election, but make sure you get out there and vote for common good candidates. So that's our focus. We're focused on voters. But if you're going to have voters show up, you have to have good candidates, and we're excited that we have some good candidates with us today. So here, we're going to give you a chance to listen to some of these people. Now, maybe you already got this card in your hand from Terry LaGrange. Terry is running for the state senate. Terry, come on up here, would you, and tell these people. I'm going to say a word or two as you make your way up here, because, look, we all know that there's been some funny business going on in North Carolina, and it happens in the state legislature. So I'm going to hand you that mic, and you're welcome to take your mask off if you like. We put little shower caps on the top of each one of these so you get a fresh batch at it. So a lot goes on in North Carolina. You all know it. We hear about it all over the country. That difficulty happens in the state legislature, and we need new legislators. And this is one of the most competitive state senate races in the entire state, and it really matters what happens in North Carolina. So goes the country. So Terry, come on up here and give the good people a little bit of understanding about why it's so important for them to vote for you on election day. Now, it's just 2 weeks from today. You've got 168 times 2 hours. So Terry, thanks for running.
Well, thank you all, and thank you for bringing your bus and for coming and spreading this important and good word. I feel a little intimidated. I'm running for office, but I'm definitely not a politician. So Genesis B, thank you so much for that. I was really moved by what you said, and I was moved by your story as well. I'm a mom also, and I'm a Unitarian Universalist. I believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every single person. And I believe in the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And I believe in the interconnected web of which we are all a part. And I think that that's what really has moved me to run for the North Carolina Senate. My opponent is a 3-term incumbent. She's seeking to be hired by the voters for a 4th term. And she tweets a Bible verse every single day. And while she tweets a Bible verse, she also denies coverage for health insurance for 600,000 North Carolinians. And while she tweets a Bible verse, she refuses to fully fund our public schools so that children in our community don't have the opportunity to reach their full potential. And while she tweets a Bible verse, she allows corporate polluters to despoil our environment and pollute our water and pollute our air, and allows them to pass the bill for cleanup onto us, the citizens. And while she tweets a Bible verse, she accepts thousands and thousands of dollars from corporate PACs and does their bidding in the North Carolina State Senate. I'm really glad I came out today, and I can promise you that all of that speaks to me. And I feel very privileged to be here and to be able to say that I will take your pledge and I will be that candidate. And I got to tell you, it's not easy. It's hard, and I have a default to truth that has been frankly challenged. Because it's hard to run for office and be attacked every single day, and not want to hit back just as hard. And so I just remind myself of the people that I'm running for, and the voter. I talked to a voter before I headed out to the polls today, and just one quick story, and then I'll give up the mic. But she's 29 years old, unaffiliated voter. And so I called her because she was on my call list as someone who said they were undecided in this election. And as I was speaking to her, she revealed that she has 3 children, and I could hear them in the background. So I knew she's 29 years old. They had to be young, and I could hear them, playing in the background. And as we spoke more, she shared that she didn't have health insurance. The only time she'd ever been covered was when she was pregnant, and she was able to get Medicaid when she was pregnant. She shared that her 3 children have Medicaid. And she shared that she had a side hustle to make a little bit of extra money, but she couldn't afford to work full time because she couldn't afford daycare for her kids. And I said, well, what's most important to you in this election? She said, freedom. And I said, freedom to me means that when you get sick, you can go to the doctor. And freedom to me means that when you send your kids off to school, you know that they're getting the education that they deserve in order to reach their full potential. And freedom to me means that if you want to work, you can afford daycare. And if you are working, that you get paid fairly for your labor. That's what freedom means to me. And so at the end of our conversation, I said, so can I count on your vote? And she said, I don't know. So it was a 10-minute conversation, and I don't know if I won her over or not, but I called her and I had a wonderful conversation with her, and it spoke to me and it reminded me that she's who I'm running for. And I told her, I said, I am running for you and I'm fighting for you because you deserve health insurance and you deserve to be paid fairly for your labor, and you deserve for your children to have their best shot to live a full and prosperous life. So thank you so much for having me and reminding me what this is all about. It really spoke to my soul today, and I feel empowered to go forward for the next 14 days, the next 13 days. So
thank you,
so
Terry.
much.
Thanks for running. We're not done yet. We're going to keep filling up those little tanks. You can hand that off to Dan. Hey, Terry, I understand that idea of feeling like you want to turn the other cheek. You keep turning the other cheek, and we'll keep turning out other voters. How about that? We'll do that. We won't make you fight back like that. So thank you for running. Hey, our state senates matter. They matter. Our state legislatures all over the country. So wherever you're watching around the country, pay attention, vote. I'd suggest you to vote for Democrats down the ballot, but you need to make that decision on your own. Now, Congress also matters, and it matters for a lot of reasons. And Dave Parker's running to be the next congressman. Dave, are you still here? Oh, there he is, Dave Parker right there. I had lost you in the crowd. Dave, thank you. Come on up here. Thank you for running. Would you tell the good people about why this matters, why you're running, how they can be part of this with you? And we appreciate you running for Congress because we know that you're not doing this for your own good. You're not doing this for your own health. You're doing this for the common good of the people of North Carolina and the people of the United States. So thank you for running.
All right, Dave.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you all for this ministry. What you're bringing to us, Doug, and Pastor Scovins, and all of y'all, is a ministry. Reverend, I've been churched today, but I'll be back at my Presbyterian church on Sunday singing in the choir like I always do. But thank you for opening your facility for us. And thank you to the musicians. Normally, I've done, I don't know how many of y'all know what Curcio is. It's called pilgrimage in some faiths, but normally I'm a music cha. And so I'm the guy up there singing songs that I have written. But that's not what we hear about today. I look behind me and I see these words. I see faith and hope and love. And you can have faith that you profess. But if you don't have love, you're just a sounding gong. And you can have hope. But if you don't have love, then you really got nothing at all. And musician, that's one of the songs I wrote. You ain't got love, you ain't got nothing at all. Yeah. Genesis B, I listened to what you said carefully because you were preaching to me. You were preaching to everyone, but you were preaching to me. And I heard about fear of other. And you can have faith. And you can have hope. But if you don't have love of other, you ain't got nothing at all. So why would someone that looks like me and comes in this package that clearly belongs somewhere else be here among you today? I'm here among you today because I'm privileged. I'm privileged to be among you today. Now, this package has gotten me benefits and privileges that I thank God for every day. But you know, with that privilege comes a responsibility. You can't just say thank you and move along. You have to say thank you, I have something to share. Because you can have faith and you can have hope. But if you don't have love, you got nothing at all. So why am I running? Why am I on this quest? This is an uphill climb in this district. Terry LeGrand just talked to you. A remarkable candidate. Thank you so much for running. And thank you for what you're going to do in the state Senate when you're elected. Because I have faith, and I have hope, and you have love. That's a powerful combination. So why do this? This is an uphill climb for me. I should get 32% of the vote. Why would you run? Because I too have a ministry, and it's to spread this word. I have a simple platform, Reverend. My platform is the golden rule in the United States Constitution, and when you hear the United States Constitution, what you hear is just one amendment. But it's not. It's more than that. It's a wonderful document. It's a document that allows us to assemble here today. There's a gentleman over here that has a T-shirt on that says Black Lives Matter. It's a document that allows us to be mindful of others. Someone mentioned the Beatitudes. I believe it was you. Mentioned the Beatitudes. And what is the Beatitudes? It's a calling for us to be mindful of the people that are not powerful, of the people, of we the people. And that's what it says in our Constitution. So this golden rule thing, is that just a platitude that you throw out? No. If you think about the golden rule, and for those of you all that were not brought up in the church, I think most of you were, but if you weren't, you know what that is, and it's, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, the Trump version of the golden rule is whoever has the gold makes the rules. But that's not our version. It's not our version for people of faith. And a lot of it comes out of the great commandment. The Lord is speaking, and he's asked the question, well, what's the greatest commandment? It's always some lawyer, and I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 41 years, rather. It seems like 45. 41 years of representing mostly women in domestic cases and workers in workers' compensation cases in small business. I'm also involved in business. We hired some 400 people doing a construction project during this virus. So I'm involved in a lot of different things, but as a lawyer, I've represented folks. Now, why does the Great Commandment make a difference? Because we're told that we should love the Lord with our body and with our mind and with our spirit. And the second commandment is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then in Luke, there's some, you went to Bible college, you had to memorize Luke 10 and all that stuff. There's some snarky lawyer. It's always some snarky lawyer. He says, well, who's my neighbor? And we know what comes from that. That's the parable of the Good Samaritan. You know that story. There's a guy that's been beaten on the side of the road, and a Levite passes him. Reverend, you can probably tell the story, and you can get that patter in your voice, and you can talk about the priest. You can talk about the Levite that passed by, and the Good Samaritan stops. Stops. He stops right out here on Walkertown Road. He goes over to see what's wrong with that person. And he cares for him, and he binds up his wounds, and he takes that person to a house nearby, and he leaves some money there, and he says, I'll be back. And whatever is not covered, whatever is not paid for, I'll pay for that. That's a parable for universal health care. That's a parable for national insurance. That's a parable about walking the walk, talking the talk, not fearing the other, making a difference, seeing something and doing something. That's what that's a story about. So it applies to universal health care. It applies to Black Lives Matter. It applies to dignity and civil society. Now, there's one of the signs around here. It's over there on that tent. There's several of them around here where we're told, turn the other cheek. And then we got set side by side, punch him in the face. But the two are connected. And the Reverend, I'm sure, has preached on this far more eloquently than I ever can, because what our Lord was talking about is if a Roman soldier tells you to carry something for him, carry it even further. And if he says, I want your cloak, then give him your coat. If he says to you, I'm going to hit you in the face, then you turn the other cheek, because that's what we do. Now, you're looking to turn out the vote, and I'm running for Congress. And most of y'all are from other places. You're not in my district. But I wanted to come over and I wanted to be churched today. And I wanted to be preached to. I wanted to be rapped to. And I was enraptured. I was. What a remarkable story you have. And what a success. Because the emblem of the Confederate battle flag has no place in a country that is the land of the free and a land of the brave. It says in our Constitution, we the people. It says that we are created equal, all of us, every man, every woman, every child. There are no children of a lesser God. There is only one God, and we are all the children of that God. That's what I believe. And that's why I'm running. I'm David Parker. My website is voteparker.com, nothing complicated. I'm a candidate for Congress, and I approve the message here, and I approve my own message, and I approve every message that y'all are giving. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David Parker. Look forward to you representing the good people in North Carolina. Hey, friends, we got a little more for you if you're all right sticking around here for a bit. Now, some people kind of wonder, because we live in the bus, they think we're just sticking around for our own health, but we're not. We got a couple of people who want you to hear. One of them is Nick Brock right here. Nick Brock comes out of, now Nick is from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He's about to tell you that. So he's not going to ask for your vote. But what Nick is going to do is he's going to give you a structure that's going to help you think about your vote, I promise you, in a whole new way. And then you can hear from our friend Shane. You're going to hear from our friend Shane that's going to call you. Then we're going to serenade you a little bit more. Genesis B is going to give you a little love maybe. And then we're going to give you a way to be involved in action before and on November 3rd. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for sticking around. Thank you for the candidates for representing yourselves and for speaking to the shift of the narrative of power, how we just don't need to recognize it from the top down, but from the bottom up. So that's what I hope to speak to a bit for the next few minutes here. But as Doug mentioned, my name's Nick Brock. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And Grand Rapids, Michigan has historically been a stronghold for the Republican Party, where from 1884 to 2004, the Republican Party won all but 3 election cycles. So that's 120 years and approximately 5 generations of a particular voting pattern being passed along. And my hometown is also well known for being a conservative Christian community. So by and large, what this has meant is that there has been a hyper-focused attention on making theological statements, creating confessions of faith, and practicing personal piety, at the expense, though, of doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly. So it's within this political and religious context where Trump signs pepper the landscape, where churches anchor nearly every street corner, and where multiple members of my family have pledged their vote for Donald Trump again, I have committed to saying no. No to the maintenance, complacency, and certitude of the status quo. No to the re-election and politics of Donald Trump. In turn, though, what this has done, it has invited me to say something new. To say yes to the common good. To say yes to vote common good, faith, hope, and love, because they have provided for me the context, space, vocabulary, and most importantly, the permission to reimagine and re-examine how my faith in Jesus intersects with my vote in politics. So this new framework then, the politics of Jesus, if you will, pivots upon an understanding of a 5-letter, 2-syllable word, power. And let me briefly explain this. In 2016, then candidate Donald Trump was on the campaign trail in Sioux City, Iowa, one of the most conservative Christian communities in the nation, a community not unlike my own and perhaps similar to yours. And while there, he addressed a crowd of curious and eager white evangelicals, and this is what he said. Christianity is under a tremendous siege, whether we want to talk about it or we don't want to talk about it. He then continued, Christians make up the overwhelming majority of the country, and yet we do not exert the power that we should have. Christianity will have power. He then concluded, if I am in the White House, you're going to have plenty of power, and I am going to represent you very, very well. You don't need anybody else. Remember that. In effect, and under the guise of becoming Christianity's newly appointed savior, Donald Trump wanted to cut a political deal for power with Christian voters and have them sign their name on the dotted line. And they eventually did. To the tune of 81%. Isn't that correct, Dan? 81% of white evangelical voters and 60% of white Catholic voters. But the politics of Trump, Trumpism, a species of hysterical intolerance and oppression built on demagoguery, intimidation, and a cult of personality, sold the bill of goods that was and continues to be a false and distorted, hijacked view of the Christian narrative for power we find in the life and teachings of Jesus. In stark contrast to the politics of Trumpism, the politics of Jesus undermine the meaning of power at every turn, even when lynched upon a tree, crucified. Both tactics used as a form of ethnic intimidation to enforce law and order, while the oppressor literally stands back and stands by. A naked, sexually abused, dehumanized, brutalized, non-white Jesus suffocated upon a cross, whereby the words, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe," fully embodies the crucifixion experience, because Jesus, with a loud voice, cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And he breathed his last. It is precisely this "I can't breathe" Jesus who was murdered under the heavy knee of a system that said his life does not matter, wanting his fledgling group of friends, religious scoffers, and elite government officials to re-examine and reimagine where and how power from above manifests in the streets below, in the public squares, and in church facilities just like this one. You see, friends, the way Jesus died at the hands of first century Rome is as relevant and subversive for us today in 21st century America. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here, friends? The politics of Jesus, where on earth as it is in heaven, is not just a short form prayer to climb the rungs of the spiritual ladder, but it is also a public policy statement about how the space between heaven and earth becomes so razor thin that you could hardly differentiate between the two. And the framework of its constitution is summarized as thus: let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but emptied himself, taking the form of a slave and being found in human form. And in this likeness, he humbled himself and became obedient, even to the point of death, a lynching on a cross. Transformational power does not occur through the ascent of your ego. It is not through the ascent of the value of your stock's worth or the value of your 401k retirement plan. It is not through the ascent of your religious institution or your church denomination. And it most emphatically is not through the ascent of your political party. Donald Trump cannot save you. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cannot save you. The way to transformational power that transcends the powers and principalities of this world, that crosses the divide and gives new life to me, to you, and to us, begins in recognizing critical moments such as this one that call us to go beyond our own selfish needs for violence, dominance, and exploitation so that resurrection becomes not just something that happened long ago or something that will happen in the distant future, but is a constant reimagining here and now. In other words, your kingdom come, your will be done. In closing, Donald Trump is right. Christianity will have power and plenty of it. It's just that he and his enablers have yet to conclude that Christianity already possesses it and has since long before 2016. For in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh, and we have seen Jesus, full of grace and truth. I have chosen to say no to the politics and re-election of Donald Trump because my yes is grounded in the politics of Jesus, where it carries within it from the bottom up all the momentum and power needed to push and roll away a large and cumbersome stone that stands in its way. So may you, friends, with your politics, choose not to go right. And may you choose not to go left, but may you go deeper. Deeper into the mind of Christ, who by the power of his work within us is able to do immeasurably more all than we could ever imagine. And may you seek faith, hope, and love for the common good with your vote, not just until November 3rd, but in everything that you do. My name is Nick Brock, friends. Peace be with you.
Thank you, Nick. You're about to hear from our friend Shane over here. I wanted to play this song for you first, though. One night, Shane and I were involved in an online Zoom call, a vigil for execution that was being carried out just a couple months ago, I think. And it's tough to know what to say in those moments. It's tough to know what to do to change something like that. Where is this justice? The justice we need. Tell me, where is this justice we all want to see? And when I marched in the street, then I began to see, I saw that the justice we need is the justice that needs me. Tell me, where is the king? I see that the healing we need is the healing that needs me. Tell me where is the peace that we need? Oh, where is the peace that we all want to see? And so I phoned an old friend, and I said sorry for the grief. I see the peace that we need is the peace that needs me, and I see the healing we need is the healing that needs me, and I know that the justice we need is the justice that needs me.
Come on, give it up for Brandon and Daniel up here. Wrote that song as an execution was being carried out. It was a federal execution. One more reminder that amidst all of the many struggles and all of the death, we have a president who has gone out of his way to reignite federal executions. After 20 years without a federal execution, we've had more this year under Donald Trump than in the past 50 years. What Reverend Barber calls the necropolitics, the politics of death, right? And yet, I think here in North Carolina, we have to remember that Franklin Graham, you got to name some names, Brother Doug, right? Franklin Graham has said God intervened in the last election to put Donald Trump in power. He's said that he is a pro-life president. And you look at this presidency, though, and there is nothing pro-life about it. It's a strange place to be, America, where you can be pro-guns, pro-death penalty, pro-military, and still say you are pro-life. But we know that to be for life is to be able to say that Black lives matter, and there's something wrong when police are killing people. There's something wrong with a country that's better at protecting Confederate statues than Black lives. And so we know who Donald Trump is. The last 4 years have shown us that. The question we're asking tonight is, who are we? And that's what this election is about. It's a referendum. We are choosing who we want to be as a country. We are redefining what the priorities of Christians are. Right? We are asking ourselves, who are we right now? Yeah, Jesus said a tree is known by its fruit. Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And Donald Trump, his life looks more like the 7 deadly sins than the fruits of the Spirit, right? But I know we got to remember that God's grace is big. I remember one of my friend's kids said, they were talking, and one of the young kids said, we got to remember that God loves Donald Trump, but that doesn't mean God wants him to be president. You know, so we can hold out hope that God can transform the heart of Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs Jesus, amen? But we need a new president. We got to get this man out, right? God's grace is big, but we're going to make some changes happen. And I grew up hearing when we ask God to move us, to move a mountain, God may hand us a shovel. Okay. And right now, we may ask God to remove this tyrant, and God has given us a ballot box. We have a way that we can put feet on our prayers, that we can make change happen. Now, I hear some people say that they are not excited about Biden and Harris. And I think this is the interesting thing. I don't agree with them on everything, but I can agree with them on this. Donald Trump has got to go. Right? We got to get this man out and everyone who is enabling him. And I think sometimes, we get we think that, we got to have a perfect candidate. But what we can remember is that, especially those of us who are shaped by Jesus, that maybe one thing we can be thinking about in this election is how we can vote in solidarity with those who Jesus called the least of these. And he said, when you do it to them, you do it to me. When you put kids in cages, you're doing it to me, right? Jesus said, blessed are the poor, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek. Those people that Jesus blessed are the people that this administration is cursing and crushing. So we are going to say this election year, I am going to vote for love. I'm going to vote for Breonna Taylor. I'm going to vote for the families separated on our border. I'm going to vote for those who are incarcerated, who their vote has been taken from them. I'm going to vote for those who don't have health care. I'm going to vote for the LGBT community whose lives are at stake right now. I'm going to vote out Donald Trump. Amen. So sometimes we can remember, that we're voting with a whole host of witnesses. And we're also voting against hatred. I think as a Christian, I'm not looking for a savior when I'm voting. I'm looking to harness the principalities and powers that are hurting our brothers and sisters, right? I'm looking to do some harm reduction and damage control. I'm looking to vote against hatred and misogyny and xenophobia. That's what we're voting against. And for me, I'm going to vote against hatred in the name of Jesus, right? It's my love for Jesus that causes me to be offended by Donald Trump's hurtful rhetoric and hateful policies. It's my love for Jesus that causes me to say no to Trump. Amen. So it's an honor to be a part of the Vote Common Good campaign. Keep up with what we're doing. Support us in every way you can. Give money to the billboard so you can see how in contrast the words of Jesus are to the words of Trump. We're here to lift up Jesus and tear down the politics of hatred. Amen. So thank you so much for joining us online. Thanks for being here in Winston-Salem. I'm going to hand it over to Doug, who's going to bring us home.
Thank you, Shane. Shane, really glad to have you with us, and I tell you, honestly, I'm glad you're not going to be at the next one. I'm going to steal that line about Trump needs Jesus, but we need a new president, and it's easier to steal it if you're not sitting right there. That's one of the great lines. I believe it so truly. Hey, friends, we'd love to take you with us. Now, we say this everywhere we go, and we only have 13 days left after today for you to come with us. So we need you in the tank with us, because we like to say there's 4 things that get us around this country: faith, hope, love. Of course, you know those 3. We've been talking about those all night. You know what the 4th is? Diesel. Diesel moves that bus around the country, so we need you in the tank with us, as we like to say. Some of these people, we just rallied them up as we've been driving around the country. We picked up Nick in Grand Rapids. We picked up Dan. We picked up Genesis B a couple of years ago after she was with us for 2 events, and now she's living on the bus too. So the bus is full, but the gas tank isn't full. So we'd love to have you in the tank with us if you want to do that. You make a donation. You can do Venmo. You can do PayPal. Vote Common Good on both those things. You can write a check, use a card. You can barter for beaver pelt. I don't know, if you got something in the back of your car, we'd probably swap it with you. We'd take anything you got to get us all the way home, because we're going to go all the way home. Now, we're not done from being here tonight. We're never going to forget Winston-Salem, but we're also going to add to that we're going to Canton, Ohio, and then we're going up to Hazleton, Pennsylvania, and then we're going over to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and then we're going to Philadelphia, and then we're going to Lancaster, and we're going to have events every single day, and we're going to keep going until Election Day. Now, one very special day is coming. I want you to text the word GOOD to 66866. If you've been sitting there all night and you have not texted that number yet, this is your moment. This is your clear invitation for you to text that number. Because on Saturday, this coming Saturday, October 24th, by the way, there's 2 great things happen. One of them online, and one of them at the end of your driveway, or down at your church, or at your post office. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the one that's happening online is that Shane is running a conversation with faith leaders about how people talk about the issue of abortion. Because I got to tell you, if you haven't talked to people about that, there's a lot of faith voters who keep saying that's what's keeping them connected to Donald Trump. They're going to have an online conversation about that. Shane will give you all the information about it. So be sure you tune into that. Share it widely with everyone you got. But in addition to that, we're not only going to do something about saving our democracy by getting rid of this president, we're going to save the United States Post Office by having a bake sale. because federal government doesn't want to seem to back its very own post office, so we're going to take matters into our own hands, and we are going to have a bake sale, and we are going to save the post office. Now, of course, we're not going to raise enough money, but we're going to raise enough ruckus with hundreds and thousands of bake sales going on all over the country that people are going to say, why do we need to have bake sales to fund the post office? We like to joke that it's Bake America Great again. So we'd love to have you do this. SaveThePostOffice.us. You can sign up right over there. You send a text to that number. It'll put you on our email list, and we'd love to keep you in touch with that. We're going to have bake sales all over the country. You ask people to bake baked goods. You go to a baker. You put it out the end of your street. You ask someone to come up with stamps. You swap it for a muffin or a piece of cake, and you say to each other, we have to do everything we can because you try to shut down our post office, and the people are going to rise back up. Just like the dough in the oven. It's going to rise back up. So we'd love to have you be involved in that with us, and we'd love to have you involved in all the work that we're doing. We'd like to take you with us. So see us over there at the participation tent. That's Brady. That's Raquel. They'll take care of you. They'll put a hat in your head. We got 13 days, and we don't want to take any of that stuff back with us. So would you take something home with you? You know, it's like you're getting the end of the bake sale already, and it's just the start of the bake sale. So we'd love to have you come with us. We'd also like you to tell your friends who live around the country about what we're up to and what we're doing. But most importantly, we'd like you to dedicate another hour. We know you gave us an hour and 15 minutes tonight. We appreciate you being here. But we've got 13 days left after today. Would you dedicate an hour every day to reaching out to somebody? Would you reach out to somebody by sending them a postcard? Over at that table, you can put your hands on a postcard. And on those postcards, there's 15 of them in a package. The 15 postcards have a message on the front that says, join me in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. And then on the back, they're blank. That's where you get to write your own message. And inside those packages of 15 postcards, there's 15 mailing addresses of faith voters right here in North Carolina. And you can't go door to door, but you can go mailbox to mailbox. So go home with a package of postcards. Go home with 2 packages. Go home with 3. Go home with 4. Go home with 5. Get 3, 4, 5 friends together. Have a postcard writing party and send postcards, because I promise you there are people who don't hear it often enough. What we know is that 3 things have to be in place for someone to make a change. And this is a change in your voting. This might be a change in your eating habits. This might be a change in your language that you speak. Change comes when 3 conditions are in place. New information, an invitation, and a community to participate in. All those have to be in place. Now, it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. People need to know, they need to be invited, and they need to have someone to join. Get some postcards. Go into your own social media. Call your friends. Text someone. Take a picture of the Love and Politics Pledge and send it to somebody, because we would love to have you spend an hour a day for the next 13 days doing everything you can to get somebody out. Our good friends back here at this table, they've got all kinds of help back there. Is our judge still here? You still running for judge? Is he still here? Okay, he's not here, but there's a guy running for judge, and he needs you to be on his side. Lots of work you can do. These tents are here to recruit you. So this is our Harvey Milk moment. We're not here just to encourage you. We're here to recruit you. So we'd love to have you in on that with us. And our final bit is to invite you to stand up. And if you already have one of these little bookmarks in your hand, they're the Love and Politics Pledge. And if you don't have one, we're going to bring one around and hand it out to you. It's the same thing that's written up on these little banners of ours here. And see our sad little banner over there on the left. The sad little banner's having a tough day. He's been set up and taken down so many times, he's kind of broken. But if you were to read that banner, if it was all, oh, this is going to help the banner. Help the little one there. It says, I will call on all elected officials. This is the Love and Politics Pledge for you as voters. I will call on all elected officials to comport themselves in a way consistent with love in their professional and public lives. We don't think it's too much that you ask a person to act in a way of love if they're going to ask for your vote. Then secondly, that you would make a commitment to encourage any politician whenever they do with your verbal support. Third, you would speak out against any politician who does not comport themselves in a way of love and call them back to the way of love, whether they're in your party or someone else's. And fourthly, you would demand that every politician holds other politicians accountable when they don't act in a way of love. And no more of this, well, I wouldn't tweet it that way. The Love and Politics Pledge. You call them to a way of love, you support them when they do, you call them out when they don't, and you ask them to hold each other accountable. And then on the back of that, we have this little love pledge. And this is where Daniel and I have been working on this. Now, we've only been doing this about, I don't know, we done Love and Politics Pledge with people 71 times. And one of these times, we're going to get this just right. All right, so it goes a little something like this. You get to say love 13 times in a row, and I get to say the rest of it. So I'm usually the one that screws this up. It's not hard to just say love. Saying love is easy. All the rest gets a little tough. So this comes out of the book of 1 Corinthians. You might think that you're outdoors, outside of a church, and someone's about to get married. But the 1 Corinthians passage is not about people getting married. It's about a community figuring out how to live with each other. So that's what we're going to be doing. All right. So you ready, Dan? Let's give it to him.
Love
is patient.
Love
is kind.
Love
does not envy.
Love.
Does not boast.
Love.
Is not proud.
Love.
Does not dishonor others.
Love.
Is not self-seeking.
Love.
Is not easily angered.
Love.
Keeps no record of wrongs.
Love.
Does not delight in evil.
Love.
Always protects.
Love.
Always trusts.
Love.
Always hopes.
Love.
And always perseveres. May we be a people of faith, hope, and love even in our politics. Amen? Hey, thanks for being with us tonight. We'd love to see you down the road. We love you, Winston-Salem.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.